These are the same apps, same inventory data, same features, same dark theme, same stats card, and same data grid. One built in WinForms and the other one built in WPF. If you are a .NET developer, you have almost certainly Googled the question I'm about to answer. Which one should you use in 2026? I have now built real projects in both, including the two videos on the channel before this one, and I have an actual answer. It depends on an actual answer with a reason. Let's get into it. My name is Ronak and you're watching Vector Art. And for those who haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. It means a lot. It motivates me to create more such videos. Side, I have the Windows Forms demo. Same dark theme we built in video 1. Sidebar, the stats card, the data grid, the filter panel, and the pagination at the bottom. So all of this is comprised in one mainform.cs, and this is the entire app, about 300 lines of code. So if I go to Visual Studio over here you can see I have the main form, and this is all the code that creates our UI. It's all in one file. Now, if I switch over to the WPF app, the same UI, but here you can see we have a navbar item, and each navbar has its own user control, and you have the cards on the top over here. You have the filters, the same data grid, pagination. And if I go back to the Visual Studio code over here, and if you see the Solution Explorer for this one, you will see we have the main window.xaml. Then we have the themes where we have written the dark theme and the light theme. Then we have the controls for each of our user controls, which is the nav item and the stats card. And also, if you see on the UI for our WPF, we also have written a theme toggle, which will toggle our theme from dark to light. Before we go any further, drop a comment right now. Are you currently using WinForms, WPF, or are you a complete beginner who hasn't chosen yet? I want to know the room before I give my verdict. I'll read every reply. The deepest difference between WinForms and WPF isn't syntax. It's the mental model for how you build a UI. In WinForms, you think in C#. You create a panel, you set its location, background color, size, and you then add it to the control to your UI. This layout is your responsibility entirely. Look at the mainform.cs over here, where I just highlighted where all of these changes are done. And every pixel is explicitly declared in the code. In WPF, you think in XAML. You declare a grid with column definitions, and the layout engine figures out the pixels. Open here, I have the main window.xaml open. And if you see the sidebar, you have the nav panel where we have the nav items on here, and then we have our stats card and the filters and the data grid. And if you see the side panel over here, we have our border. Within our border, we have the border or this whole border set in the grid column of 0, and the column definition is set to a width of 200. Both apps use the same design concept, name, color, constants, but where they live tells you everything about the architectural difference. In WinForms, 9 static read-only color constants fields at the top of our main form.cs, pure C# to change the theme. You can change those constant and rebuild. In WPF, it changes. We have solid color brush resources in our themes under dark.xaml and light.xaml, pure XAML. To change the theme, we just have to swap the dictionary like we did in our last video, and these 3 lines of C# in XAML.cs will change the dynamic resource every time and bind updates instantly without a rebuild. WinForms wins the learning curve argument, and it's not close. If you know C#, even beginner C#, you can build a functional WinForms app today. Create a form, drag a button, double click, and wire up the events and run it. The designer handles the boilerplate. There's no XAML to learn, no binding syntax, no resource dictionaries, no data context. It's just C# objects. Whereas WPF has a steeper curve. It has an entry point. Before you can build anything non-trivial, you need to understand XAML, data binding, the difference between dynamic resources and static resources, what are control templates, and why button ignores background by default. Each of those concepts take time. The payoff is real, but the upfront investment is real too. Over 40% of enterprise.NET desktop applications still run on WinForms. That's not a small number. If you work at a company with a 10 years old internal tool, you are freelancing, for businesses that built their software in 2014, WinForms is the reality you will encounter. Knowing WinForms isn't just about building new apps, it's about being able to maintain, extend, and improve the enormous amount of existing WinForms software that is actively being used in production right now. WinForms app start faster and use less memory at startup. WPF loads are more complex rendering pipelines. DirectX, the layout engine, the binding system for simple utility app tools or internal dashboards where startup time matters, WinForms delivers a leaner binary with less overhead. There's also a simplicity argument. If you are building a settings dialog, a configuration tool, or a simple data entry form, WinForms is less infrastructure for the same result. You don't always need the full WPF theming system. WPF theming system has no equivalent in WinForms. What we just saw, a 3-line runtime toggle between dark and light mode, every control updating instantly, no rebuild required, is architecturally impossible in WinForms without writing your own framework on top of it. And it's not just the toggle. Implicit styles mean you define a button style once in dark.xaml or any resource file, and it applies to every button in the entire application automatically. In WinForms, you set properties on each control instance, every single one. The larger the app, the more this gap compounds. Data binding is one of the biggest practical differences between the two. In the WPF demo, the data grid is bound to an observable collection and add an item to the collection and the grid updates automatically. No method call, no manual row insertion, no refreshing. In WinForms, it's different. So in WinForms, look at the mainform.cs, the refresh grid function. And this method is manually calling the dgv.rows.clear and dgv.rows.add every time the data changes. Every filter changes, every page changes calls this method explicitly. It works, but it's manual plumbing that WPF eliminates. If you are brand new to .NET desktop development and you never shipped a desktop app, start with WinForms. Not because WinForms is better, because it will give you a working app faster, teach you C# event handling and UI logic without the overhead of Zabel concepts, and build your confidence. Once you have shipped something in WinForms, WPF will make significantly more sense because you will understand what problems it's solving. If you are building a new desktop application professionally in 2026, a client deliverable, an internal enterprise tool, a commercial product, use WPF. The theming system, data binding, resolution independence, and scalable architecture make WPF the right choice for anything that will grow over time or be used by people or modern hardware. The higher upfront learning cost pays back quickly on any project with more than two screens. If you are working on an existing WinForms code base, stay in WinForms and make it good as it can be. Don't rewrite in WPF. The ROI almost never justifies the risk. Instead, apply the principles from the WinForms video. A panel structure, design tokens, a typography system, custom controls. You can dramatically improve a WinForms app look and maintainability without touching the framework. All right, I said I had an actual answer, and here it is. If I was starting a new desktop project from scratch today, I would choose WPF. The resource dictionary, theming system, the data binding, the declarative layout. Once you understand them, they make building and maintaining a large app significantly easier than the equivalent WinForms code. But, and this is important, I wouldn't have been able to appreciate that without first building a WinForms. The WinForms video on this channel made the WPF video make sense. They are not competing frameworks, they are learning progressions. You understand WPF better because you felt the friction of doing the same thing manually in WinForms first. So, my honest answer to the question is this: learning WinForms first, building WPF second, and never dismiss either one because depending on the job, either one could be the right tool. Three things to remember. One, WinForms and WPF produce identical looking results. The difference is in how you get there. Manual C# pixel control versus declarative XAML layout. Two, WinForms wins. One, simplicity and legacy support. WPF wins on theming, data binding, and resolution independence. Neither is universally better. Three, in 2026, both are actively maintained by Microsoft. Neither is dead. The choice about the right tool for the job, not about picking a winner. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment, WinForms or WPF, and tell me why. No wrong answer. I need every reply in the first 24 hours and I'll reply to them all. And if you haven't watched the WinForms design video or the WPF dark theme tutorial, both are on this channel. They show you how to actually build in each framework, not just talk about them. Links are in the end of the screen. If this video finally answered the questions for you, subscribe. Every video on this channel is built around one goal: turning .NET developers into developers who understand both the code and the design. Hit the subscribe button and I will see you in the next one. Till then, bye bye.